Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the fourth and final game of Day 1, Stage 2, PEL Contenders Promotionals. My name is Esquire. It's, as always, a pleasure to be back here commentating for the PEL with you guys. So welcome on in here. It's been a crazy days so far. A lot of teams having significant performances and a few teams kind of falling short of where they need to be and where we expected them to be based off of their historical performances, especially in stage number 1 of the tournament. But in a new lobby, new problems, new obstacles, new competition can arise, and that's exactly what we were seeing here. Players' boots are on the ground and about to be thrown up into the cargo hold of the plane and sent across the map as we get ready for the fourth and final game of the day. But let's talk about at least what the implications of that are. It's only the first day, and as we mentioned earlier, we talk to teams, we talk to players in these styles of tournament under this point system, and you say, you know, guys, what is the goal? What is the goal for you coming off of day number 1? What are you here to achieve? And 95 or more % of the teams are going to say, listen, it's day 1. Nothing is going to be won today. Nothing's going to be lost today. It's really just going to be a good opportunity for teams to pick up points. That's what we're going to be trying to do. A point race is essentially what it's going to be. We don't want to be working from behind, rolling into day number 3 and day number 4. So that's the goal for some of these teams. Some of them are already going to be working from behind, and the pressure will mount as the days go by. Plane path, going to be somewhat favored down towards the southeastern side of Erangel, but it is going to be that double helping of Erangel as we mentioned. I think likely tomorrow we see Sandhawk, Miramar, Erangel, and then flip that schedule just twice to make up the 4 days. Plane path out of the southwestern corner of Erangel, going to be going all the way up there towards the northeast, just off of the position of Stauber. This plane path will be giving most of our teams ample opportunity to find those primary loot locations and not have to worry too much about where they land to start game number 4 off. All of our teams going to be out of the cargo hold and at the 1 minute and 30-second mark of the game. We will be seeing phase number 1 pop. It's not going to be a northwestern circle, but it's going to be one that takes our teams back up to the north. Any team that likes to loot down to the south that thought they were going to have an easier game to cap off the day, well, they are going to be devastatingly mistaken. All the way to the north, the most favored team, I believe, by this shift is going to be Boris, who found themselves looting up Severity once again. Few teams, though, inside of Yasnaya possibly going to be clashing here over the course of the next few minutes. Yasnaya is a town that can be occupied by, I want to say the breaking point of Yasnaya is between 3 and 4 squads. 3 teams can loot comfortably inside of Yasnaya. You split it up. The western side, the centralized area, and then the eastern side. Do those 3 teams want to be there? No, absolutely not. It's not going to be, an easy loot rotation. You're always going to be looking over your shoulders, and one team is going to be finding themselves in a pinch position. So we'll continue to track that Yasnaya area, see if we get that type of congestion. That could be devastating for all teams involved. Down here in Milta, it's going to be the home, the loved location by the members of Stellar. Celis looting up in the cafe. As this team continues onward, Stellar's been having an interesting day, picking up a good bit of points here and there, but not really able to capitalize on that squad consistency that is necessary to find themselves in the top 3 positions. But at the end of the day, guys, it is the top 9 that move on. After day number 4, on Wednesday, the top 9, after 16 games have been played, have secured themselves a position inside of the PELC for 2020. It's crazy that we're already into the 3rd decade of the 21st century. I almost can't believe it. I almost can't believe it. 2019 is coming to a close, and what a year it has been for competitive PUBG, launching regions all around the world, and then accumulating into an event that we've got popping up here in just a few weeks' time, the PUBG Global Championship, that I do sincerely hope all of y'all tune in for. It's going to be quite the contest. of the best PUBG teams across the globe as it stands coming off of the first year of competitive play. Taking a look over at the members of Boris, this is the team that landed up here in Severny, a squad that has ample opportunity based off of pretty much a lot of room around them to spread out, pick up that loot, and then reunite probably around the 5-minute mark of the game, where most of those transitions should have already been made and will likely be entering into phase number 1. Level is going to be sitting over here in Lipovka on the far eastern side of Erangel. Level is an interesting team in the sense that they came out of stage number 1 with a dominant performance. I mean, this is one of the squads that, at least in stage number 1, we were not surprised to see at the top. They've struggled at least here on day number 1 based off of the new lobby makeup. Maybe it's the pressure. Maybe it's what's on the line here for these squads. It could be a multitude of factors. But we'll be looking to level to hopefully shore up those shortcomings as time progresses. So Milta isn't just going to be held by Stellar. They've taken a very wide spread, picking up some of the Milta Power locations as well, as we just saw Moldman in small Milta Power. Rotations coming out here, and the team, Milta Power, is going to be positioned to try to choke off some of these rotations going along the choke points off the eastern side of South Georgopol. Going to be checking in on Hakkapeliittas, a squad that currently sits going into this game in 14th place position. They're a team that I feel like we've seen them in the mix, but really haven't been able to come up on top of that with any type of significant points. I believe Hakkapeliittas has not placed in the top 8 so far here today. They picked up 4 kills. 4 kills so far. Istanbul Wildcats, a chat favorite, going to be making that rotation here to try to find a comfortable place inside of phase number 1, as many other teams try to do so. Royalties, Jesse, going to be crossing the paths of Milta Power right now as everyone's making that desperate bomb up here to get in towards phase number 1. Blue Zone closes out 2 minutes and 30 seconds on the board until we shift into phase number 2 and get a better idea of how this game is going to be progressing, the landscape of the early to mid-game transition. Tony team, our victors of the previous game, going to be very comfortably sitting here on the far northern coast. This is a position that's likely going to keep them away from any of these early game engagements where you don't really earn too much. This is a concept that I've been talking about over the course of at least phase number 3 for the PEL. Kills mean more. All right, there's, obviously on paper, there is no difference in the value of a kill at the beginning of the game or at the end of the game. But I think teams can definitely attribute an intrinsic value on being able to pick up those late game kills. They're significantly more impactful. And that impact on the game, that impact on what it propels you to, is where you find that added kind of unseen value. HaKoHe going to be pulling up here on the western side of South Georgopol. I believe no team still going to be residing in South Georgopol as Preachers pull up here towards the north, crossing the bridge. Royalty going to be in a bit of a Mad Max style engagement right now. And Milta Power in a similar situation. Vehicle for Guess Who going to be under fire. It's smoke and it goes up in flames as Martin is able to find the M416 spray down onto Guess Who's US. Milta Power continue on. They aren't going to be losing their entire team. Fine, still going to be alive. As Hakkapeliittas continues to be a dominant threat here up towards Severny. They've displaced one of the other teams that did land here to begin with, Boris, and are going to be sitting comfortably now inside of phase number 1. 40 seconds on the board, though, and still a lot can change here based off of what we're looking at in the early stages of match number 4 of the day. Poke shots coming out from most of these teams involved. Boris is going to be in the 2-2 split. They moved up to the warehouse out of Severny over towards the east, and we'll be holding on to the warehouse double-story prio split. The occupancy of this building forces Royalty into a position that they definitely did not want to be in between 2 different squads, Boris and Tony team. are going to be pinning down Jesse and Infection. Shots come out. Jesse going to be tagged down to maybe about 50% HP. Vehicle does get disabled. Infection and his teammate only going to be left with one vehicle to try to get out of dodge. And it's going to be under fire by multiple different directions. Phase 2 shift comes out over towards the southeast. Off of our previous circle center point is where we are going to be going. And the kill feed is absolutely lighting up. If you look over on your map, over to the far west, it's the Preachers clashing with HaKoHe. We saw Preachers. They departed out of South Georgia Pole just as HaKoHe was starting to make their way into the western side of South Georgia Pole. And now inside of the blue zone, these two teams clash. I didn't expect it. I don't think many did. But the Preachers were there on the northern side of that Georgia Pole bridge, lying in wait. Kill feed erupts. It's going to be traded back and forth between HaKoHe and Preachers, as the ADR farmers are going to be in the blue zone as well, off on a different angle. Now we pop into the blue zone to the far west. Preachers selfish, able to find the knockdown onto Vlad. The flush comes in as well. Preachers are taking casualties though, and they need to be careful. Both teams really feeling the hurt from this engagement. It doesn't really matter who ends up coming out on top of this, because both teams have been so severely put on their back foot from this engagement that they're really not going to be able to come up with too much from this match. HaKoHe definitely in a better position than the Preachers, but again, both squads left with 2 players and 1 player respectively for HaKoHe and Preachers is really not where you want to be. 10-minute and 30-second mark about to be met here, and it's the brute force squad Mackenzie trying to peek down onto the members of Dose Pilots. You recall Mackenzie was that peak player for the members of Brute Force in the previous game where they clashed with Tony Team. And it was the knock onto Mackenzie that really opened things up. Moen able to pick up a kill onto Flamyy. VSS going to be in play, and this is something that we're not used to seeing. We saw the VSS come into effect earlier in the day, or in our first match of the day on Sanhok by the members of the Istanbul Wildcats. But usually at the 11-minute mark of the game is not typical to see the VSS coming out. I personally love to see it. I think the gun has a lot of utility in certain scenarios, and it is definitely underappreciated by a majority of the pro scene. HalloSenpai going to be knocked down. Lipsin able to find a nice shot with the SLR onto this brute force squad that is slowly, like a python, constricting around the members of Dose Pilots. Rita going to be spotted out. Spray down comes in as Hawk tries to find the knockdown. Finds a significant amount of damage, but is not able to find it just yet. And there it is. Another player, though, knocked on top of brute force, and Hawk is going to be following suit. 1 player left on their feet for a team that almost walked away with a chicken dinner in the previous match on Erangel. Is definitely not going to be in a position they want to be in. AmerouuS wrapping around towards the north. Won't be able to save Hawk. Will likely not be able to save the other brute force member bleeding out in this position. But an opportunity opens up here as the third party comes in. Hakkapeliittas is going to be aggressively pushing off of this. The nade comes in. Lipsin gets dropped down and out. And those pilots have to at least consider how they want to play off of the remainder of this engagement. Is it time to get out of dodge, or are we forced into taking at least one of these fights? Shift comes in, a hard shift almost up towards the northeast, the most centralized Stalber circle I've seen in quite a while here in competitive PUBG, which presents some very unique issues for these teams. Stalber is obviously not just one of the most unique areas of Erangel, an area that we don't really see a lot of competitive circles play out, but it's also one of the more unique areas just map-wide. And as I said, that creates some very unique circumstances for some of these teams that might not be as versed in this area of play on this map. Shots come out. Dose and Brute Force continue to trade back and forth between one another. AmerouuS with that tag down. Pola going to be popping up here, trying to provide some much-needed support over to his fallen teammate as HalloSenpai and AmerouuS are able to hold down these positions. The peek comes in from HalloSenpai. They're able to find one, but the trade comes back out as well. Still going to be a 1v1 scenario. The odds between these teams continue to stay even, but it's the third-party presence of Hakkapeliittas off of the backside that continues to pin down Dose Pilots and really has no significant effect on top of Brute Force. A story of AmerouuS of Brute Force versus Rita of Dose Pilots. Rita pops into the smoke, tries to find the res onto Pola inside of the smoke concealment, but AmerouuS says, I think I know what is going on. A spray down will be popping Rita out of the smoke, back to peek around the left-hand side of the tree to see if they can't find that spray down. But in doing so, I'm not sure. Oh, no. AmerouuS definitely knows at this stage that they have forced Rita out of the smoke and will be seeking cover behind the tree. Shots continue to be traded back and forth between these two players, but at the end of the day, it is going to be AmerouuS who took down a 1K damage stat earlier here in the day that comes up with clutch and keeps their team alive. 15 teams remain, 45 players though, as we continue to progress through the final game of the day. And it has been one that has been fairly fun to watch, fairly exciting to watch so far. You and Melted Power are going to be tagged down right before they got cover behind the tree. That's going to be ZorF with the SKS that is able to find those connections. Now, though, inside of phase number 3, those unique set of circumstances, those unique bits of territory that are going to be in play here in phase number 3 are really starting to at least hurt some of these squads. Intruders are pushing up, and I'm not sure they have any idea that Iffy of level is going to be holding that flank position behind the rock. This is something that teams have to be checking for. They have to almost be expecting as they clear up the base. Level going to be pulled into this engagement as this phase does close out. It continues to at least shift the circle, but it also continues to keep Stauber as the dominant battleground for where this game will be ending. Elevation is going to be a tough thing for some of these teams to have to work their way around, especially if you're one of those teams coming in late like we have down here in your bottom right-hand corner of your screen. Boris going to be pulling up here to the base of the hillside to try to get a little bit of reprieve before they have to push on into what is sure to be a pretty chaotic engagement to kick off the remainder of the match. We have passed the halfway point of these Erangel games. That's about 15 minutes or so into the match. And Intruders are going to be wrapped around the far southwestern angle to try to find a different mode of entry into phase number 4. Taking an opposite page out of this book is going to be Fight Club, who are going to be wrapping across the face of Boris right now. The shots come out, huge gunfire, and it's perfectgod's AKM that ends up finding the vehicle explosion, taking out ZorF. More will follow. Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me once, shame on me. Unfortunate for Fight Club, but I don't really think they had many opportunities or many other options besides what they had committed to. Able to keep one member alive, gifted, is going to be the insurance policy in the back pocket for Fight Club as they continue on. But as they continue on, right in the members of Stellar is where that position finds them. Phase number 4 in full effect. And off to the far east, outside of the circle, it's going to be ADR farmers facing off against Boris. The shots come out. ADR all but has Boris pinned down with the blue zone now on their back as well. It's going to become increasingly difficult for Boris to try to maneuver off this position. There's the spray down and the grenades to find their connections. Anonymous onto Sando and Mkaelovich. Definitely not what Boris wanted to have happen. Now going to be left with, I believe, just one member, perfectgod, to try to champion for this squad, working his way around the base of the hill, trying to get the flank around onto the members of the ADR farmers. But listen, it's not going to be easy. I don't even think it's a possibility for them to get this flank, based off of how ADR farmers have been playing. They're disengaging off of this. They're trying to essentially just leave without taking any blue zone pressure and trying to hold on to a dominant edge position in phase number 4 as we pop down to the southwestern side of this circle. From the northwest down to the southwest, where the Intruders are facing off against the CrazyCrew, a 4v4 engagement. Again, this is the Intruders who wrapped from the far southern side, or kind of centralized southern side of the previous circle, phase number 3, to try to find a safe way to get inside of this phase 4 zone. Didn't really work out for them as much as it was intended to do so. But I think all things considered, it is going to be easier for them to work their way inside of the circle than it was previously. So it's the best of two evils, which sometimes just isn't the best. Isn't good either way you look at it. Melt to Power are going to be wiped off of the map as Fight Club's Gifted, the solo player, ends up finding the elimination kill onto that squad. 12 teams now remaining, 36 players alive. Leaves us with a 3-player per team average. STaravillo for the CrazyCrew going to be trying to spawn out the members of Level as well as Intruders pushing onto this side of the hill. And this is going to be an engagement between Level and Intruders that pops off. The third party comes in strong, but CrazyCrew have to keep their eyes trained down into the direction of where they had previously seen the Intruders. Now that Intruders have gone down and out, CrazyCrew picks up a few kills from that. They have to keep in mind of what they saw in the kill feed. That's Level rolling up on the opposite side of the hillside. Iffy, the rest of the crew going to be 4 strong and have the numbers now on top of CrazyCrew. ADR Farmer is going to be quickly eliminated out of the game. Anonymous and Triquo found out as Fight Club continue to be a dominant force here in this game, even with 2 members alive, having lost half of their squad to vehicle explosions in that rotation around the southeastern side of the circle. AmerouuS, solo player for Brute Force, after taking massive casualties early on here and not really finding the amount of points that they are true to finding, at least so far here on day number 1 in this final game of the day. AmerouuS is going to be hanging out here on the cliffside, trying to get their way into I'd say probably a top 5 finish is the kind of consistency that Brute Force wants to keep up here to take a lot of pressure off of them moving forward. Even in day number 2, it's pretty substantial what at least 3 or 4 of these teams here in this lobby have been able to come away with so far. But as you see, AmerouuS is about 15 meters separated from another solo player of royalty. Jesse found themselves, or not a solo player rather, that's going to be 3 up, but rather a solo player position currently held by Jesse. A bit of a standstill. A lot of room for these teams to maneuver around without getting caught out or spotted by their opponents, which is kind of lending itself to a lull in the action, similar to what we saw in the final 2 or 3 phases of the previous game. But with the stakes a lot higher here, given the fact that we still have 10 teams up and alive. Stellar holds on with all 4 on the far eastern side of phase number 5, waiting for the zone to close out. And we see where some of the members of Fight Club have been able to reposition. Gifted going to be sitting a little bit north of this, on the northeastern edge of phase 5. Tony team still going to be up on top of Stauber, very content with where they currently hold. I mean, it's a similar story to what we saw in the previous game. Tony team takes up a centralized area as we transition into the mid to late game and continue to be rewarded off of it. Circle will be going north. Not exactly a hardship, but enough of a shift to force our teams down to the south, and even some of our teams in Stauber, specifically the Istanbul Wildcats, into unknown, dangerous, enemy-occupied territory. Jesse does get spotted out. The solo player AmerouuS is able to spot out Royalty in rotation. Finds one, finds another. Down goes Jesse. Down goes Infection. The flush is going to be confirmed as well, picking up the 5th kill in total for Brute Force. What a play coming out from AmerouuS. If you didn't have your eyes on this player already, then certainly now is the time to start watching. AmerouuS has shown us, a pretty incredible set of PUBG competitive skills so far on the day. Iffy trying to maneuver around this area of the map is going to be immediately tagged down and flushed out of the game. And Nade finding the knock, the M416 spray finding the finish. Again, this is the Istanbul Wildcats, who found themselves having to push off of that southern area of the top of Stauber Mountain, but also had Level pushing off of the base from the south directly into them. Istanbul Wildcats will be quickly making work of Level as they now turn their attention over to the direct threat up towards the north in terms of the Tony team, who are still going to be sitting fairly comfortable inside of this compound, but they are getting pushed by another direction as well. Now going to be pinched in between Stellar as well as the Istanbul Wildcats. A big test here for the Tony team at the 23.5-minute mark, with 9 teams marked that now 8 still alive, as Royalty will be eliminated in 9th place position, just on the cusp of finding those placement points in game number 4. 8 teams is all that remains, 21 players alive, and Hakkapeliittas is going to be coming in here and third-partying on top of the members of the Istanbul Wildcats. An engagement we didn't necessarily see setting itself up, but it will be happening regardless off the far western angle of Stalber down to the south. But now the third party comes in as well. Back on top of them, Ginzo from the Istanbul Wildcats is able to find a nice nade on top of Patrick. And this is surely going to draw the fire in from Tony team. That's going to be one kill steal taken away. Patrick gets flushed out of the game. And a kill point over to the Tony team. And now Brute Force. AmerouuS tries to find one more knock, is able to do so as the solo player for that Brute Force squad, but is not able to find the flush. And out they go in 7th place with 5 kills. Istanbul Wildcats trying to recover off of that knockdown onto BSD. BSD, who's been a very critical player for the squad throughout the day, consistently coming up with kills and knocks in the kill feed, as well as positional plays. It's been very exciting to watch. Smoke's coming out now. Martin from Hakkapeliittas does hold down this position very dominantly. Spots out Laz. A quick spray down around the right-hand side of that bit of ruins will be finding the first knockdown. Other members of Istanbul Wildcats going to be pinned down as well by the Tony team and almost forcing them to go into the direction of Martin. Tony team now starting to push out and choke off any hope and dream of the Wildcats, and Hakkapeliittas going to be knocked down and out. 6th place position is where Martin will be able to push his team's performance. With 5 teams now remaining, 14 players alive, Tony team are looking like they're having a pretty good game so far. They spot out Ginzo, the final member of the Istanbul Wildcats, and with that spray down, have secured a little less difficult of a transition up towards the north to get into phase number 7. Now they have to deal with Stellar, who's going to be pulling back up the hillside. Stellar has 4 alive, a 3-1 formation with Kaz all the way at the base of the hill. The other 3 members of Stellar are going to be pushing up here onto the horizon. There wasn't really a good indication that these teams have the positional cues of one another, but they're going to be looking. Moleman pops off the engagement with a nice spray down headshot from the AKM. Comes in, connects onto Blacklight. Will be knocking him down, but a trade back from Feberino will be had. Beamy with a double. Back onto the Tony team. That is the type of kill they needed to pick up right there, and Beamy's able to finish it off. 3 kills for Beamy and a full squad elimination onto the Tony team. Not going to be a back-to-back finish for Tony here on Erangel. Stellar really showing their hand and really showing up in the final few games of the day. Yeah, Beamy has been just a pretty incredible player as far as just the lobby is concerned. Both Beamy and Moleman really helping that Stellar squad through, I'd say, one of the more, or at least a couple of the more difficult scenarios that we've seen that team be put in. And it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. HaKoHe going to be remaining alive. 1 player keeping their squad in the mix here in the final 2 teams of this game. It's going to be a 1v4 scenario. Stellar looks to try to claim the final chicken dinner of the day in stage 2, day 1 of the PELC promotionals. And it looks like it's going to be a point denied. Lazy dipping back into the blue zone will be conceding the victory to end the day over to the members of Stellar. With all 4 alive, they dominantly finish out this day. They dominantly finish out this game, and that's going to be a 21-point finish as well. Definitely what Stellar wanted to see here. It's going to be a big boost to them on the leaderboards that takes them in to tomorrow's set of games, day number 2. Same time, same place, guys. Make sure that you prepare your schedules accordingly. We're going to be going today, obviously, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Wednesday being the 4th and final day of stage number 2. We're at the end of it. 9 teams will be advancing into the 2020 PEL Contenders Series. It's going to be a blast, guys, to see how this tournament continues to play out. So make sure, again, that you don't miss any of it. You can also check out the VODs, everything else on this channel, as well as over at the PUBGesports.eu website. This website, guys, it gives you access to all of the stats, standings, how things shaped up, individual player stats, team stats, news, you name it. It's going to be your central hub for all things PUBG esports. So make sure to go ahead and check that out. But that's pretty much going to do it here, guys, for our day one broadcast of stage number 2. It was a pretty epic set of games. I think we saw a lot of movement from all ends of the leaderboards. We saw teams fall from grace. We saw teams rise to the occasion and put up a dominant set of points. We saw a few players come out with very standout performances, one that still rings true. And my mind is going to be AmerouuS from Brute Force. I mean, what a day. 1K damage being broken in just a single game is a hell of a way to start it out. But if you're a fan of a team that didn't have that significant performance here today, I wouldn't be too upset just yet. A 4-day tournament leaves room for a lot of PUBG to be played out here. So certainly show up here tomorrow. Give your teams that support that they need. It's a lie. The VOD is unavailable. No, it should be available. Thanks for the cast. Hey, you know what, Forrester, it's great to be back here at the PELC. Love working with StarLadder and everyone involved. So appreciate your guys' support as well. I'm going to be here commentating the games for the next 3 days, and I am looking forward to doing so, especially as we continue. So guys, make sure that you have a wonderful, wonderful week. Before we send you off, we'll take a look at how things shaped up. Here are going to be your point totals from game number 4, just this final game that we saw played out on Erangel. 3 teams walking away with 0 points. Royalty going to be continuing with that consistency of not picking up any points. You know, we talk about consistency a hell of a lot in competitive PUBG, but we don't necessarily distinguish it between good and bad consistency, of which there are definitely both. So some teams will be looking to have even bigger performances over the next few days, and the pressure will be on for them to do so. Popping over to some of our teams who found significant performances, at least in game number 4. Stellar obviously sits atop the leaderboards for that game with 21 points, 11 kills, and a chicken dinner is what makes that up. Our damage leaders from this game, no one even getting close to what AmerouuS was able to put up from one of the previous matches with 1K damage. Kills going to be stacking up fairly evenly across the board. Beamy, no surprise there. And no pun intended, a stellar player for that stellar squad. Definitely coming up clutch. Head to head, let's stack it up. Stellar versus HaKoHe from match number 4, first and second place respectively. The point deny coming in from HaKoHe to concede that round victory. The damage definitely in favor of the members of Stellar. And let's take a look at the top players, or at least some of the top players from these squads. Kaz chalk them up with Lazy of HaKoHe. Very similar in terms of performance. So definitely good to see. It's going to be a bit of fierce competition as we proceed throughout the remaining few days of play here. And now let's take a look at our standings. These are going to be your updated leaderboards after 4 games have been played out here in day 1, stage 2, PELC promos. Brute Force, they still sit atop the leaderboards in first place position, 42 points. Stellar not going to be too far behind them with 40 points. But guys, where your attention needs to be focused is around the 6th through maybe, let's say the 6th through 9th spot, maybe even the 5th through 9th spot. A lot is going to be up for grabs still from all of the remaining teams here in this lobby. But you want to be top 9. You really want to be top 9, guys, at the end of day number 4. But this is only the end of day number 1. So let that kind of sink in. A lot of PUBG, whatever was achieved today by any of these teams, can certainly be put up or even surpassed in future days. Here's your better look at your standings, a little bit more detailed. Shows the different kills, the different placement points that have been able to be accumulated. Again, if you're not familiar with this point system, it's 1 point per kill. So you can translate all of those kill points into actual kills that these teams have been able to pick up. Placement points, that's a little bit trickier to dissect at this stage of the game. But it is going to be 10 points for a chicken dinner, and it trickles down from there, stopping at 8th place where 1 point is awarded. Brute Force, though, Stellar, Tony Team, HaKoHe, and many other squads having significant days, but no one's been able to really break away in terms of first place position. I think it's still very close when you look at the points and you look at the separation between these squads. And here's how the day shaped up. No one able to pick up back-to-back chicken dinners. No one able to even have a repeat chicken dinner. ADR Farmers picked up the first match of the day on Sanhok. Milta Power came in with their victory on Miramar. Tony Team with the first chicken dinner on Erangel. And then Stellar capping off the day. Here's your schedule ladies and gentlemen, as we break into tomorrow's set of 4 matches, matches 5 through 8, to be played out at the exact same time, the exact same place. PEL_Esports on Twitch is where you're going to want to be able to find that action. Make sure to also throw follows over to the PEL Esports Twitter so that you always stay up to date with any news coming out of that social media platform. And then also, guys, you could throw me a follow on Twitter and Instagram at @TheRealESQ. I would love to interact with you guys. I would love to talk competitive PUBG. I would love to talk PUBG. Let's talk esports. Let's talk everything as long as it relates to PUBG and gaming. That's going to do it, guys. Day number 1 of Stage 2 is in the books. I hope you guys have a wonderful end to your weekend, a beautiful start to your week tomorrow. And I can't wait to see you guys for day number 2, where teams are going to be looking to try to put up some more separation on the leaderboards. It's been a pleasure, guys. Take care, and we'll see you tomorrow.